Hi, I'm Dave Monet, two-time world champion. You're watching Full Contact Fighter TV. Don't touch that dial.
Coming up on Full Contact Fighter, cable TV tells the UFC to come on back. Dennis Hallman wants to put a hurt on UFC lightweight champ Jens Pulver. And Dave Monet, he's the best fighter you've never heard of. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Full Contact Fighter. I'm David Amber, glad to be joined by the legend in mixed martial arts, five-time UFC champ, Pat Miletich. Pat, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dave. It's great to be back.
It is great to be back, and we do have another great half-hour show. We're going to bring you up to date on what's going on with Pride, but first of all, the big news in the industry, the UFC is now back in the fold with the cable companies. Understanding how far mixed martial arts has come means understanding where it has come from. Back in the mid-1990s, the UFC was one of the biggest success stories in the history of pay-per-view television. The company marketed UFC as a spectacle that they claimed had no rules. While the fans may have been thrilled, politicians were not. It didn't take long before political pressure forced cable operators to take the sport off their schedules. It was clearly a crushing blow. In February of 1996, Cablevision took the UFC off its air. Viewers' Choice Canada followed shortly thereafter, and then cable giants TCI and Time Warner dropped it in May of 1997. The moves were a disaster for the UFC. In the U.S., its cable market share fell from 35 million homes to just 12 million homes. And in the Canadian market, it was eliminated altogether. As time went on, the cable ban stayed in place, but the sport changed. Rules were instituted, and more importantly, the fighters evolved. Colorful brawlers were replaced by highly trained athletes, adept at combining the different elements involved in the mixed martial arts. The ban stayed in place until Zuffa purchased the UFC. Using its contacts in the cable industry, Zuffa successfully educated cable operators, and just a couple of months ago, cable giant In Demand agreed to begin carrying UFC events starting on September 28th. Said In Demand president and CEO Steve Renner, quote, In Demand is working hard to find new revenue streams for cable that will increase the size of the event category, and we're confident that big event programming like the UFC can help us fulfill that important initiative. Pat, clearly some great news getting UFC back on cable. Why is it so important to be out on cable?
I think mainly, number one, because the sport has a chance to build a huge fan base, and number two, that the athletes in the sport have a chance to become household names.
Household names indeed, but why did it take so long to get UFC back out on the cable networks?
When the sport was originally marketed, it was a brutal steel cage, no rules, no time limits, no weight divisions. I think this turned a lot of people off, and it took a long time to educate people that the sport had changed and that there were actually athletes in this sport and that it was a sport.
And it is a sport, and it's coming right at you September 28th, live from Las Vegas, the Mandalay Bay Casino and Resort. UFC 33, a great card, headlined by a match between Vitor Belfort taking on the champ Tito Ortiz. The undercard, not too bad either. Dennis Hallman, the challenger, going up against Jens Pulver, who is the champ. Pulver claiming the belt earlier this year against the Japanese sensation Haru Uno.
The Bantamweight Championship, are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on!
What do we look for here?
I think Uno's a great showman. You're going to see him do some wild stuff. Japanese love it. He has that style wide open, and as they said, unflappable. So he'll take risks regardless of where he ends up.
Oh, let's go, let's go.
Now Jens fighting for a belt for the second time.
Much better shot.
Down that time.
He's got his back. He can choke him. Oh, he's got it sunk right now. That's a terrible spot for Pulver, but he's able to break the hold.
But still, the back is exposed.
As they say in jiu-jitsu, this is the worst place to be. So, Frank, you thrive on this.
But not only is Pulver in a bad spot, but Uno's got that single leg inside. He's riding the leg, so he's always got a piece of control of him. So no matter where Jens goes, Uno's going to follow him around.
So is it Jens who has to stay calm right now?
Jens needs to stay very calm. He needs to stay relaxed. He can't get that other leg in and get 2 hooks inside, or Uno will totally control his body.
It seems as though Uno's in no rush to hurry for the choke. And quite often we see somebody, when they get their back, they just go ballistic to try to move up and choke. Seems like he's trying to set it up.
Some strikes by Uno. Pulver's up, and he's on the backside. Uno's on his back. Weidman. Now he comes down to 1 foot.
This literally looks like a wrestling match here with the leg in. And Pulver escapes.
A night of stars with star-studded events with Sammy Hagar amongst those in attendance tonight here in Atlantic City at the Trump Taj Mahal. We're watching the little men compete with a big vengeance. Knee bar back again. Uno trying to work on Pulver.
He's going to try to put him backwards, but he's able to turn it again.
Good knee by Jens Pulver, and another, and a combination, and he's connected once and twice, and Uno retreats.
Well, this is a pivotal round here. Winner of this round really sets himself up.
How does Uno come back here in the early part of round 3, Frank?
I think Uno's got to do it with his strike. He needs to relax a little bit and just let them things go. It doesn't matter if he goes down, so he should be throwing 100% power every time.
And the only reason he's in on the leg here is Pulver let him do so as he went into the fence. That's the second time I've seen Uno shoot and not do a very good job of penetration step, but it looks like he may be able to finish this one. Pulver doing a nice job of breaking the lock and getting back to his feet. Well, watch for knees here.
You know in wrestling, Jeff.
Big knee there.
You know in wrestling, Jeff, you shoot that single and your head's stuck on the inside. You're not going anywhere, and that's where Uno got caught.
Well, Pulver probably in the back of his mind believes that one good left can end this fight, but he's got to be careful to pick his spot, doesn't he?
That was a good leg kick. I don't think Uno was expecting that either. Thought it was going to be more of a punch. And there's the low single that he's famous for, and he is now in Pulver's guard, and this is where Uno likes to operate.
2:25 remains in round 3. Goes plenty of time here for Uno to try to bring the game into his world.
Oh, and Pulver, whoa, nearly ate a knee, but what a great stand-up.
Look at him go toe-to-toe now. Little Eagle, Jens Pulver. Aro Uno for the Bantamweight title. I mentioned earlier, the 17-year-old that lost his long bout to cancer just over a week ago. And Pulver said, God decided he wanted Dusty in the ring with me tonight.
That was a good left hand and nearly a great knee, too.
Good combination. Both fighters got hit there. 20 seconds remains in round 3, and this has been a close round.
Yes, it has. Be interesting to see how the judges score this. Pulver's gotten a couple good shots in punching, and there's been one takedown by Uno. Could be a draw. That was a good shot.
Look at how Uno slid away, though, as Pulver went after him.
And Pulver, you see his hands, they're loosening up. You see his confidence skyrocketing right here.
Working the right on the back of Uno.
Looked like he went for a leg attack there, an attempted leg attack. Uno was eating some punches to the back of the head, side of the head, and seemed like he decided to go for the leg, which stopped the punching, but he is underneath. This is not a good position in any form or discipline, having your head down and your body extended.
I'd say check with the commission right now. Let's add round 6 and 7. I don't want this one to end.
Uno landed a great right hand there.
And Uno might steal this round now. Wow. He is connected a bunch here late in the round.
I saw Pulver look up at the clock.
The clock runs 30. Pulver knows that you always want to finish strong, too. Leave that. And that is a big one. A big one here by Jens Pulver.
There's 20 seconds. Someone's got to take this.
This could determine the round right here.
Pulver just missed. Uppercut by Uno.
And Uno working very hard to win the
Pulver's tired. He's looking at the clock. He's tired.
Trying to stay busy, though. Trying to take it to the end. 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Wow, what a fight. What an absolutely tremendous fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 5 rounds, the judges have reached a unanimous decision for the winner and new UFC bantamweight champion of the world, Jens Little Evil Pulver.
Wow, Pat, a huge win for Pulver, and you were a big part of that. You were his trainer. What did he do right in that fight against Uno?
Well, we wanted to concentrate a lot on conditioning. We wanted to make sure that Pulver could out-condition the conditioning king. Uno's known for running people out of gas. And also, he showed that he can control the pace of the fight when he wanted to fight, move around when he wanted to move around, and just showed a lot of maturity in that fight.
He showed a lot of maturity. He is the champ, but remember, he's got another battle coming up in UFC 33. He's going to be taking on Dennis Hallman. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the man going up against the Pulver.
Sports has a new shape. The Octagon. The Ultimate Fighting Championship is back. Bigger, badder, better. Tito Ortiz battles Vitor Belfort for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship of the world. Live from Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, Friday, September 28th on pay-per-view. The all-new Ultimate Fighting Championship, as real as it gets.
Beyond the glory, behind the pain, stories are waiting to be told. Full Contact Fighter, the #1 news source on the world of mixed martial arts. Monthly subscriptions available at www.fcfighter.com or by calling 516-922-1081. Long distance charges may apply.
If there's one thing today's athlete definitely lacks, it's intensity. Between the huge salaries and the corporate endorsements, there's a complete lack of passion for the actual sport these guys are paid so much to play. Who won't take constructive criticism from respected sports journalists.
Welcome back to Full Contact Fighter. I'm David Amber. To date, Dennis Hallman, his greatest challenge at the UFC was in a battle against the ground and pound tactics of Matt Hughes. Hallman got the better of him in the first match. It took less than a minute. In fact, Hughes, who's a close and personal friend of Jens Pulver, said, "I'm going to get my revenge the second time around," and everyone thought he would. Everyone except Dennis Hallman, who had his own ideas.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Here we go, first of 3 5-minute rounds between. Oh, this is his trademark.
Slam. Big slam, reminiscent of
Frank Shamrock, Igor Zinoviev.
Exactly. And
and again, oh my.
Yeah, but Hughes is in trouble. His arm's in trouble. Hallman's got him in an arm bar.
Oh my goodness, how does that happen? 2 slams, and it's over. And it's over because that man has flipped his way to victory. Dennis Hallman defeats Hughes again.
Wow. Oh, that was so fast. And that reminded me of Shamrock Jackson from our first one together, Goldie, back at UFC Japan in '97.
Wow, Pat, Hallman really getting things done really quickly against Hughes there. You trained both Jens Pulver and you also trained Hughes. What happened in that fight versus Hallman?
Dennis Hallman did a good job of coming across the ring, throwing a big right hand, and putting the pressure on Hughes right away. Hughes reverted back to his wrestling, took Hallman down, put him on his back, and got caught in submission early on before he was sweating and was able to slip out of submission a little earlier. Smart fight by Hallman.
Smart fight by Hallman, and it was a quick fight. Don't expect a quick one in UFC 33. Hallman's going to be locking horns with Pulver, and these two do not like each other one bit.
I think the thing that bugs me most about Dennis Hallman is, one, is his disrespect. He's not just disrespectful to me, he's disrespectful to everybody, you know? I mean, there's been people on his own team saying they can't stand the guy. He's just disrespectful. He don't look, he's not a warrior. You know, he's a smart mouth guy who thinks he's tough, and he goes out there and proves it. He don't look at it. He's got no spirituality behind it, nothing. He just wants to fight because, you know, he probably got picked on growing up or whatever. but he just wants to be able to run around and say, I'm a fighter, I'm a fighter. I truly believe that, because nobody would go out and disrespect somebody they don't know as hard as he's done it, whether it be for promoting reasons or not. He's very disrespectful, you know? Calling me a smartass, I never even spoke to the guy.
Be careful what you say when you're young, because it's going to come back at you. You're going to get your ass stomped on TV, you know? Instead of getting beat up in the Tacoma Dome, you get hooked up on TV. So be careful what you say when you're young.
So, Pat, what do you make of all this? Clearly, these two guys do not seem to like each other one bit.
Well, it's a hatred that definitely goes back to the high school wrestling days in Seattle, Washington. It's a deep-rooted hatred for one another, and it's a hatred that's going to make for a hell of a fight.
It should make for a hell of a fight, and you can catch that September 28th in Las Vegas. They're calling it Victory in Vegas. Hallman going up against Pulver for the lightweight championship. All right, still to come on Full Contact Fighter, we're going to take a look at UFC's ordinary superstar, Dave Menne. And after that, we're going to take a look and tell you what's going on with Pride.
Sports has a new shape. The Octagon. The Ultimate Fighting Championship is back. Bigger, badder, better. Tito Ortiz battles Vitor Belfort for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship of the world. Live from Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, Friday, September 28th on pay-per-view. The all-new Ultimate Fighting Championship, as real as it gets.
Beyond the glory. Behind the pain. Stories are waiting to be told. Full Contact Fighter, the #1 news source on the world of mixed martial arts. Monthly subscriptions available at www.fcfighter.com or by calling 516-922-1081. Long distance charges may apply.
Trying to decide who is the most underrated fighter in all of mixed martial arts, well, it's not an easy job, but one prime candidate has to be Dave Menne. 35-3, but still he doesn't get all the respect he probably deserves. As well, if he beats Gil Castillo at UFC 33, he'll become the middleweight champ, and then people should start to take notice.
You could say that recognition for Dave Menne is a double-edged sword. The quiet, soft-spoken WEF champion is probably the best fighter you've never heard of, and he'd like to keep it that way. But with recognition comes respect, and respect brings title shots and big paydays, both of which have passed Menne by.
It just sucks that somebody who's quiet and doesn't want to talk trash, lets everything happen in the ring, just won't get the kind of recognition that they deserve. You know, I'm sure we could all put on the different, you know, crude T-shirts and flip people off on the camera and stuff like that. If that's really what's going to get us in there, be known as the drunkard getting off the bar stool and going out and hammer punching people, if that's how you're going to get the money, then I guess we'll starve, because that's not what we do.
I felt frustrated most of the time, or a lot of the time you feel frustrated, you come off a big win, and it's a month later, 2 months later, and the phones ain't ringing, and you got nothing coming up, and you got another low-level show or something that you're going to be running. And it's, you know, no, it's not just the money, but I still got to eat.
A native of Forest Lake, Minnesota, Menne trains in virtual solitude, away from the limelight and away from the recognition.
I like the competition, and I like the things I get out of the sport. I like the, you know, how many, you know, the fact that you have to refine so many different things, you know, and try to pull so many different aspects in the fight game, in be able to compete. But I don't really necessarily like that attention. Maybe I'll become Mr. Social or something like that, but it's not me right now.
The guys in the Midwest generally don't get a lot of notoriety. When you look at any of the martial arts magazines and things like that, a lot of times you'll see all West Coast. But also Dave's a quiet guy, doesn't flaunt, doesn't run his mouth, and just goes out and fights. You know, they either want to see you win or see you get crushed. With Dave, I think a lot of people don't know which way to go, because he hasn't given people a chance to get an opinion of him.
An all-around fighter, Manet is as comfortable on the ground as he is on his feet. He has scored big victories over notable opponents, such as Pele Landi and Carlos Newton, and is not afraid to go to war if he has to.
Anything you can hand to him and just feed it right back to you. But he's very skilled, phenomenal fighter with great ground game, great stand-up, and very seldom do you find a guy with a great chin, a lot of heart, and the skills to go with it, and that's something that Dave has.
When Manet fought Pele, my ideals of him, I thought he was a good person before. My ideals have changed incredibly after that. I mean, this is someone I want to fight like Dave Manet does. I mean, I want to be like a Dave Manet after watching him fight something like that. I mean, it was amazing.
Manet has finally been recognized and is getting a well-deserved title shot at UFC 33. It's been a long time coming for the silent assassin.
So, Pat, Dave Manet, really the forgotten warrior, a pretty interesting guy as well. What's your take on him?
Well, Dave's a guy that really doesn't run his mouth about other people. He doesn't get a lot of notice because he doesn't run his mouth. But he's a guy that'll stand toe-to-toe with any fighter in the world and is definitely one of the best ground fighters in the world. So you better bring your lunch if you're going to beat him.
And what makes him a special fighter? You talked about his groundwork. Is that his specialty?
I don't think he has a specialty. I think he's just a great all-around fighter.
And I guess we're going to be seeing a lot more of Dave Manet in years to come. We're going to be seeing him pretty close on September 28th at the Mandalay Bay Casino and Resort. Victory in Vegas will be taking on Gil Castillo. That's one of the matches. Here's a list of the other matches at UFC 33. And coming up next week, Tito Ortiz, the Huntington Beach bad boy. And still ahead, a recap of Pride 15.
Sports has a new shape. The Octagon. The Ultimate Fighting Championship is back. Bigger, badder, better. Tito Ortiz battles Vitor Belfort for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship of the world. Live from Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, Friday, September 28th on pay-per-view. The all-new Ultimate Fighting Championship, as real as it gets.
Beyond the glory. Behind the pain. Stories are waiting to be told. Full Contact Fighter, the #1 news source on the world of mixed martial arts. Monthly subscriptions available at www.fcfighter.com or by calling 516-922-1081. Long distance charges may apply.
This fall, embark on a journey to a world as vast as the human spirit. Explore our diversity. Meet those that inspire and those that embrace the face of change. Imagine a special place with best friends great and small, where all the world's creatures are at play. A place of tears and of triumph, where yesterday's heroes meet the legends of tomorrow. Canada's game, Canada's glory, a world where magic can happen. A place of determination, a world of grace and of greatness. This fall, only on digital television. Your choice has never been this clear.
Welcome back to Full Contact Fighter. I'm David Amber, and for all those viewers out in the U.S. and Canada, we're very glad you've tuned in today. Japanese organization Pride has had its share of big events over the last couple of years, and the most recent one, held right in Japan, was chock full of action and excitement. First up, Valentin Overeem facing Asuero Silva. Overeem dominates this one with striking, but Silva finds an exposed limb and uses a heel hook for the submission win. Then Brazilian Walid Ismail, he had little trouble with Shungo Oyama of Japan. Ismail, who likes to call himself the Gracie Killer, finishes it off with a side choke. Bout number 3, another Brazilian, Ebenezer Braga. He does well against a Japanese opponent, defeating Matsui by decision. In the most exciting bout of the evening, Igor Bochanchin goes toe-to-toe with hard-hitting Masaki Sataki. It goes the distance with Bochanchin winning a hard-earned unanimous decision. In what might be the coming-out party for the sport's next great heavyweight, Keith Haring uses his much-improved stand-up skills to stop the powerful Mark Kerr in the second round of their bout. In another heavyweight bout, Brazilian Antonio Nogueira uses his superior ground skills to submit the Canadian Big Daddy Gary Goodrich. Only 2.5 minutes into their match, Nogueira has the dubious honor of now facing Mark Coleman in Pride 16. Next up, American Quentin Jackson looks good early against Japanese superstar Kazushi Sakuraba, but Sakuraba eventually comes up with a submission. It's Sak's first fight since his devastating loss to Vandalay Silva back in March. Finally, Tokumitsu Isazawa gained some revenge from an earlier loss by defeating Ryan Gracie when the Brazilian quits after injuring his ribs. And Pat, it wasn't too long ago that Mark Kerr was considered one of the top fighters in the entire world, and then Haring steps in and really hands it to him. What do we make of this? How good a fighter is Haring?
It's obvious that Haring has improved immensely over the past couple of years, and his training in Holland has definitely paid off, and he's quickly becoming one of the most dangerous fighters in the world.
And if you need any more information on Keith Haring or Pride, make sure you pick up the latest issue of Full Contact Fighter at a Tower Records near you. Alternatively, you can visit our website at www.fcfighter.com or email us. We'd love to hear from you at fcfnews@aol.com. And that just about wraps up this episode of Full Contact Fighter. I'm David Amber. For everyone involved, thanks for tuning in. A special thanks to this gentleman, Pat Miletich. It's great having you here, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thank you, David, and I look forward to being back.
All right, well, we got some big fights coming up, so don't you dare miss that, and don't you dare miss our next episode. We'll see you then.
Facilities courtesy of Florida Jacks in Toronto. Refuse to lose at Florida Jacks.
Keep stomping them. I'm gonna roll these through every single one of these guys, man. Better watch out, because Tito Ortiz pissed off. I'm here to take everybody out. Tito Ortiz, this is my time. It's now.
Coming up on Full Contact Fighter, the UFC hits the big time. Tito Ortiz, the top dog in mixed martial arts. And the light heavyweights throw the heavy leather.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Full Contact Fighter. I'm David Amber. We are glad you're here. We're glad this guy's here as well. No stranger to the octagon, a former UFC fighter, also a man who used to be ranked in the top 10 for heavyweights in the world, Dave Beneteau.
Good to be here, Dave.
It's great to have you here. We've got a jam-packed half hour. We are going to preview UFC 33. They're calling it Victory in Vegas. We're going to break down the janitor, yes, Vladimir Matyshenko, taking it to the streets, going up against Tito Ortiz. We're also going to break down the lightweight and the middleweight battles. They're both going to be title shots at UFC 33. But first, we got to start with Showtime coming to the UFC.
The headliners now have ring entrances that are larger than life. The pay-per-view production quality is second to none.